UW Health and Unitypoint Health Meriter will soon allow more people in their hospitals to visit patients. The two health systems both announced the change to their policies today, citing reductions in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations as the reason. Under the new policy, two people can see a patient during visiting time for adult hospital stays in both health systems, and there is no limit to the number of different visitors per patient. There's also no limit to the number of visitors for clinics and urgent care.
For the